Hi beauty, so we're going to jump into another tutorial for you guys. This video I'm going to be using the real speed so you can see how long it takes me to do each step, how fast I'm moving. So right now I'm going to prep the skin with the CLARINS mattifying moisturizer. You can get it from Ulta. I really love this stuff and it lasts a really long time. Before I applied this, I applied some witch hazel, but I wasn't able to record that part. So now I'm just filling in her brows with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow in medium brown. And I like to use this shade whenever I have clients that have lighter toned hair. This way it doesn't look as harsh with one of the darker shades like ebony or I think they got a black shade even. But the darkest shade that I use is ebony. So I just fill in the bottom and go over the top. Basically start off by outlining it and then fill in the middle and use my spoolie to kind of buff everything out so it doesn't look very harsh. You can see what I'm doing again on the other eyebrow. It's literally I'm just outlining the bottom, then going at the top and outlining the top. But I'm not starting at the front of the brow just so they don't look blocky. I'm starting towards the middle. And right before your brows begin to really fill in, if you have sparse brows in the front, and then I just fill in the middle part and use my spoolie to get everything evenly distributed throughout the brow. With eyebrows, you really don't have to be too specific because you're going to clean it up with the concealer anyway. Sorry, you guys. But you're going to clean it up with the concealer anyway. And I just line at the arch of the brow. So I like to start at the arch just because if you start at the beginning, you can go too high and end up having to really do a lot more work to fix the eyebrow if you go too high, rather than starting at the arch and then you already know where you want the height of your eyebrow to be. So after lining the arch of the brow, I just pull everything forward. Depending on what side of the face I'm working on, depends on, how I do the front of the brow. But usually after I get that initial line, I thicken it up just so I can have a more even base whenever I start blending everything out. And once you have everything on there, like for the general shape, you can go back through and sharpen everything to your liking. And as you can see, I'm very meticulous when it comes to stuff like this. I need it to be as straight as possible. I feel like if your eyebrows are kind of off, then it ruins the whole look, especially if you're doing something very natural or very dramatic. Just because those things have to be very, on point. So as you can see, I'm kind of in the camera. It was kind of weird to record myself doing somebody's makeup without getting in the way sometimes. So excuse me if you cannot see all the way. But I still wanted to incorporate it just so you guys can really get a grasp on how I do my brows. So I might do another tutorial just solely focusing on the brow area and have it close up. But you guys let me know what you think. I'll put out whatever you guys want me to. So like you can see, I'm starting from the front on this eyebrow, but on the other eyebrow, I started from where I did the arch. So it just depends on which side of the face I'm working on that'll give me the best angle to work at. And I like to use a rounded brush. I know some people like to use flat brushes that go straight across. I like to use rounded brushes just because it's easy for me to get the arch together. And then I bring the two concealer points in the middle of the brows. That's an easy way to tell if your eyebrows are even. If they meet up at the same place whenever you're bringing your concealer out to the middle of the brows. So that's just a little tip. And for the top of the eyebrows, I like to mix the foundation with a little bit of the concealer shade, so it's just slightly lighter than her foundation shade, so it'll be easier to blend out. And I start lining the top. And I just use the flat part of my brush and just literally I'm just dragging it on the skin so I get a real thin and even application. And I also like to put some of the product in between the eyebrows just so you don't have any halo eyebrows or, you know, any type of marks that show that you actually concealed in those areas. You don't want it to be very, very visible. And then I'm just doing the same exact thing on the other side. Just getting everything together. As you can see, everything is coming together perfectly on them brows, girl. Yes. And be very mindful to take your time. You do not have to move like at a fast pace. Once you start getting everything down, you'll start moving a lot faster. Whenever I take my time, a look like this will probably take me like an hour, 15 minutes. But if it really just depends. If I know I'm in a rush, I have a really busy day, I can easily finish this in about 50 minutes to an hour tops with like absolutely no issue. Probably faster than that, but it all depends. Then I'm just buffing it out with a Real Techniques brush. I think this is like their, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, but it's a Real Technique brush for sure. They only have like 2 purple brushes, so this is like the dense fluffy one. And then I do the top of the brows first just because that's the darker side. If you start at the bottom, then it's going to make the top light because of the transfer of the product. So I start at the top, and then once I finish blending out the top, then I go to the bottom and start blending that down. I'm not going to put it all over the eye just because I like to use my P. Louise base on the actual eyelid whenever I'm doing a bold look such as this. So I just bring it down enough just for it to, you know, blend out everything. And then I'm going to go in with my P. Louise base. So like I said, I'm using my P. Louise base in 01. Just applying that on the eyes and blending it out with the other Real Techniques brush that comes in the set with the one that I used around the eye. It's like a flatter, but it's still fluffy brush. And I just use that to blend out everything. I love to use it around the eye area. And you want to make sure that you really are blending it in with your concealer shade. And I like the P. Louise base because you don't need to set it at all, and you don't get like any type of non-pigmented looks. So I'm going to go in with the Morphe Hit the Lights palette with the little brown shade. And I'm just applying that all on the outer corner. I'm starting at the outer corner because I don't want this to be like very harsh towards the inner part of her eye. So I'm focusing all of my product on the outer part, and I'm using tapping motions. This is the real speed that I'm moving in. It's not fast forwarded or anything. So you guys are really seeing how fast and how, you know, I'm pretty sure you guys can tell how soft I'm using it, but you know, I'm doing light tapping motions on the outer corner of the eye, and then I'm slowly moving it into the front so I don't have as much product on the front of the eye. Now I'm going in with the purple shade out of the Zulu palette from Juvia's Place, and I'm just going to start patting that on the outer corner of the eye. Once again, this is like a pointed crease brush, so I focus it all on the outer corner, and then I'm slowly working it towards the front of the eye once again. I'm going back and forth with the brush that I used to apply the brown shade back over the purple shade, but I'm not adding any more product. I'm slowly using it to blend out the purple, so it isn't as harsh and everything looks really like cohesive and everything. At this point, you're really just going back and forward trying to get the desired look you want. If you want to be like a lighter purple, then don't use as much as I did. If you want to be darker, keep going, but it's all up to you. So now I'm going to start doing my cut crease. I'm using the P. Louise base once again, and I just use tapping motions to carve out my crease area. There's multiple ways that you can create your crease. That's another video I'm thinking about doing, showing you guys all of the different ways that you can cut somebody's crease that's beginner friendly. And I would feel like this is more advanced because I'm used to carving out cut creases. But I'm just using tapping motions, and again, I like to use a carved brush, a curved like round flat brush, just because it's easier to get that round shape that you want. And then I'm going to go in with a fluffy brush after I finish carving out the cut crease to melt everything together so it'll look like the other eye. If you just leave it how it is right now, then it's going to be very patchy. Everything isn't going to be very, cohesive, like I said. So you want everything to be very sharp and precise. So that's why we're going to go back in with a fluffy brush and just pat over everything so it look like the other eye. And we're literally just patting all over that. And once you finish patting over the eye, you might see that you need to go back through and fix everything. Not fix everything, but, sharpen up certain areas, because it'll show you exactly where the product was placed rather than where you had buildup at, and it might have looked like you had it very sharp. So as you can see, I'm just going back through after I finish patting everything down. Now I'm going to apply a shade from the Morphe Hit the Lights palette. It wasn't as shimmery as I had expected, so I did go back through with a loose powder, but I'm just applying these shades so I at least get a base on there for the colors that I'm going to apply. So I applied similar colors to the pigments that I'm going to put on in the future. And I'm just using a flat shadow brush. Then I'm just using the same brush to apply like a pinkish lavender shade. It's literally like the same shade that I'm going to apply with the loose pigment. So now I'm going to place the purple shade on the outer part just so it'll blend a little bit easier once I go back through. I'm not blending at this point. I'm simply placing the shadow. So now I'm going to apply the loose pigment. Like I said, this is one that I custom made. I'm thinking about dropping a cosmetics line, so I've just been trying some things out. Let me know if you guys like how this looked. And then for the pink shade, I'm using a MAC mini pigment. It's really not even a pink shade. It's more like on the lavender side, like a lilac type of color. And then I just go back through and blend those two colors together. And then I'm going to take a gel eyeliner and just line the bottom part of her eye. I'm not creating a wing with this look because I want it to be more smoky. So I'm just lining it with the same brush that came up in the packaging with the Tarte clay gel liner. And ignore my hair, y'all. Please ignore it. Don't pay me no mind. So now I'm going to take a small dense brush and just start blending out that liner. I use the gel liner because it's so much easier to blend out the outer corner. And I did have some black eyeshadow on there just to help the blending process. And then I'm going to go back through with that purple, and now I'm going to start blending instead. Now that you already have the purple shade on there for the most part, you're slowly working on blending it out so it'll look like the other eye that's already finished with that part. And you really want to take your time. You don't want to bring it out too much because then it'll get a lot more smoky than you want, unless that's the look you're going for. Me, I just wanted to stay solely on the outer corner of the eye. So I'm just adding a little bit at a time until I get the look that I'm looking for. So now I'm going to add my Duo Lash Glue as my glitter adhesive. I love using this for anything that has to do with the glitter. I do sometimes use it for my natural glams or when I'm doing like a glitter liner to apply my lashes, but for the most part I use this for my glitter and it works magic. Okay. The glitter I'm using is another one that I had custom mixed. And I'm just trying everything out. I made it a while ago, so I'm trying to see if I still like it. And I pretty much like the way that it turned out with this look. So now I'm going to apply the lashes. These are lashes from my vendor. Let me know what you guys think about these lashes and the products that I'm using down in the comment description bar below. And I literally like just pop them on. Lashes are pretty self-explanatory. And then I'm going to use the Witch Hazel pad to get rid of any of the pigment that fell down, any of the glitter, anything like that. Sorry if you guys hear in the background, I'm feeding my daughter. She doesn't want to see me be great and record this voiceover for the third time. So it's just going to have to be what it's going to be, y'all. Then I'm going to apply a primer. I'm using the Nivea aftershave. It works really, 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 really good for dry skin clients. It's very moisturizing and it smells really good too. And now I'm going to use the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. And I'm using a thin layer to put it all over the face. I find that instead of using like big globs in only a few areas, using a thin layer all over the face gives me the best application. So I just keep applying that all over the face. Make sure it's pretty even for the most part. And then we're going to start buffing it out with a Real Techniques brush. It was the Expert Face brush, but my brush is really, really old. So it's kind of messed up. It's more like the Instapop cheek brush, the way that it's set up now. So now I'm just buffing it all into the skin. And I'm just using pressing motions. You want to make sure that you don't swipe the face or, wipe it around, because then that's just going to spread the product instead of blending it. So after I go in with my brush, I like to use a beauty sponge to just go over everything. And I do this multiple times throughout doing my face application. I find that this gives me the most like flawless looking skin application. Sometimes with the brush it just moves the product around. Sometimes you might have a little bit too much. This to get rid of excess product, and then if you feel like it took off too much, you can go back in with your brush like I'm doing right now. So my camera went off because somebody called my phone. I use my phone to record my videos. So sorry about that, you guys. I'll make sure that I do a full video on how I do my skin routine, because I know in the last video my camera actually died. So it's always something when it comes to the face. But I'm just wiping off the excess setting powder from MORPHE. I love, 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 love. I cannot rave enough about this setting powder, y'all. Like, it is the best setting powder I have ever used. Like, and that's saying a lot, because I've used a lot of setting powders, but I love this stuff. Like, it works so good. So after wiping all that off from all of those areas, I like to go back through with the beauty sponge again. And what this will do is get rid of any flashback. I make sure that I spray it down with a setting spray. I'll show you guys what setting sprays I use in another video. But for whenever I'm doing this spot, I use the Magic Collection's Rose Water spray. I got it from the beauty supply, and it's like $5, but it's really, really good for this part. And as you can see, it's getting rid of any ashiness on her face. Everything's melting together. Like, that sponge will do a lot of the work for you, honey. It'll do it. Let it do the work. So now I'm going to use the blush from Juvia's Place to add some color to those cheeks. Make them a little rosy. And I'm just using a big fluffy brush, and then I'm going to apply the highlighter. This is also from Juvia's Place in Nefertiti. I love this eyeshadow. Well, it's not eyeshadow, but the highlighter shade, it like is super pigmented. I barely have to use any type of product to get, you know, it looking how it's looking. Go up the bridge of the nose. And then sometimes the highlighter can be like a little bit too much. So I just go back over those areas with the sponge again. And now I'm just going to line her lips. I'm using a lip liner from Kylie Cosmetics. I was actually really surprised. I thought her products was kind of overhyped. But then I used it and I was like, oh, okay. I kind of like this. I kind of like this. So I'm just using that. And I did end up going back over it with a brown lip liner just because it was a little bit too pink for me. I want it to be a little bit more like a cool pink instead of just like flat out, since the purple is kind of cool colored. I'm going to use a disposable lip wand to help blend out everything. I use this, excuse me, a lot to help blend out on the lips because it's more sanitary than using brushes all the all the time to blend out all of those things. I would use brushes to apply my glosses, but as far as the blending and everything, I like to use the lip wand. It's a little bit easier for me. So I'm using a Morphe lip gloss on the middle of the lips to get that pink color that I want, more of an ombre look. And this is when I'm going back through with the brown. And after doing all that, I'm just going to go over it with a clear gloss. It's the clear gloss from Beauty Supply, girl. It's $1. Go get y'all some. And after that, that's the finished look. This is how it looks. She's checking herself out, honey. Yes. Beat by the gods, okay? Let me know what you guys want to see in my next tutorial. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. And hope to see you guys in my next video.